All right, so yeah, just in case this went bad, we're reacting live to Warner Brothers being sold. Warner Brothers Discovery announced today that it's still going to split itself in half, but in lieu of that, it's also taking serious offers to be sold outright before it does split in half. Paramount and Netflix have both tried recently to buy it. Paramount made their deal pretty public. All right, so yeah, sale or split would reshape media history. Netflix wants it. David Ellison is the current CEO of Skydance Media. He seems like a creepy guy who has no eyebrows. Company rejected an initial bid from Paramount. Bloomberg News reported earlier this month that the initial offer was around $20 per share and was too low. There is no deadline or definitive timetable set for completion of strategic alternative review process, Warner Brothers Discovery said on Tuesday. Skydance's advances after snapping at Paramount speak to Ellison and family's voracious appetite to dominate the global media landscape amid a favorably regulatory regime in the U.S. Breaking that down, that means that Trump is allowing a lot of these super mergers, whereas previous presidential regimes probably would not. Warner Brothers Discovery is relaunching the Harry Potter franchise this year. That's exciting. No, it's not. Okay, fuck you, Huffington Post. I got the business news I need from there. Let me see what people are actually saying online. Diving into the trenches. Word on the street is still that Disney wants nothing to do with this. Disney is satisfied with Fox. Putting my own 2 cents into that matter. Disney absorbed Fox, and when Disney absorbed Fox, Disney basically just kind of like ran with the Aliens franchise, ran with the Planet of the Apes franchise, and pretty much everything else Fox has been doing has been nerfed and shut down. I think Disney made a bad Home Alone sequel, and that was kind of it. Otherwise, Disney is mostly just using Fox as a content farm. Or word on the street says that Disney cannot afford Fox or cannot afford Warner Brothers because they spent all their money on Fox. So yeah, report here says Disney interest is 0%. They definitely don't want it. Leaders right now in terms of taking over Warner are Amazon, Paramount, Comcast, or Netflix. Apple, maybe, but Apple probably wouldn't actually put a serious bid in. A lot of this does respect or reflect what happened with Coyote versus Acme, but now it's for the whole company. And it's funny because it is basically the same situation, but with bigger chips on the table. Okay, anything else about corporate consolidation, which will surely improve things? Some people are excited that SpongeBob will finally meet Batman. Other people are just mad that bazillionaires are buying up all the media players. I do think Paramount and Warner fusing is very bad because they would basically cancel each other out. I mean, just thinking about it with the big players in case... there is a worst case scenario that it could be bought out by Saudi Arabia or China. I assume Trump would block that, but that is potentially on the table, especially with the Saudis recently buying, they buy Twitch or... I know the Saudis just bought something big. They bought the WWE, I remember. I feel like they bought something else important that I should care about. Technically, Paramount merging with Skydance makes them vulnerable, so they probably won't actually do it. Comcast also doesn't seem to want to do it, but they do seem to want to acquire the Harry Potter license, mostly for ease of using Harry Potter at Universal Studios. Disney apparently also just finished buying and shutting down Hulu, so that's another reason Disney doesn't want a piece of it. Most people who are saying this is a bad situation only getting worse. Disney literally has nothing to do with this and wants nothing to do with it. Netflix seems like they want it, but I don't know exactly what Netflix taking it over would look like. Amazon also seems like a bad option because as it is, Amazon has barely run the gambit with MGM. They don't even know how to get MGM working. So throwing in Warner with that would just be another thing on the chaos pile of things Amazon is too busy to actually take care of. Apple probably doesn't want it. In terms of Apple taking it over, that seems mixed. Paramount does have the unique advantage that their tech billionaire is in a conquering phase and they are unencumbered by legal hurdles. thanks to already buttering up the Trump administration. So that is a bet in terms of Paramount doing it. I just personally think Paramount doing it would result in overall a worse media landscape in America. Let's see. Other people are saying Netflix buying it would be the worst because Warner is so pro-theater and Netflix is so anti-theater that if Netflix bought out Warner, it would potentially be a death blow to the theater industry. And yeah, Paramount buying them is bad because Paramount and Warner Brothers will consume each other. This guy's saying here his best bet is that Apple or Amazon would take them over because Amazon has the best relationship with Warner Brothers and would probably still allow it to function as it is. But again, the other guy's arguing that based on their performance with MGM, it probably wouldn't go well. Apple probably is the best case scenario here, but we don't know if Apple's actually interested. And also, just me personally, I feel like Apple's very bland milquetoast approach to content would be at direct odds with Warner kind of like trying to push things and be a little bit edgy in terms of like every once in a while they make HBO and a horror movie. Like, yeah, I feel like Apple and HBO are antithetical to each other, so I can't really see Apple really running HBO. This is another thing where I feel like if they divide it piecemeal, I could see like HBO going some way, Apple wanting the Looney Tunes, maybe Netflix also wanting the Looney Tunes. Paramount also seems to want the Looney Tunes, which is ironic because Zaslav and Discovery don't seem to want them. Yeah, there's a lot of ways this pie could go. Technically, a lot of people are saying if Universal buys them, Universal would probably respect their current existence. I can kind of agree with that. Although at the same time, I also don't see Universal being a best case scenario for them either. This guy's here saying Amazon, Netflix, and Apple will continue as usual because they don't want to deal with the cable assets and the theme parks. So they would be fine. The three major streaming services after this collapse would be Prime, Netflix, and Apple. They would have the most money to spend. Random says, yeah, this is another death blow on top of an existing long list. This guy is also saying Comcast and Disney are fucked because they've ruined all their good IP and run into the ground, so they don't actually have a lot of stake in the industry. This guy is saying Comcast and Disney mostly survive due to their theme parks, and Disney and Peacock suck and have no good originals, and Disney folding Hulu is a show of weakness right now. Paramount, this guy's again betting at Paramount winning the ball game because if they merge WB and Paramount together, it would make HBO stronger. However, Paramount is noted that it doesn't have a tech industry presence and it doesn't really have theme parks. I disagree with that. I've been to like the Nickelodeon theme park at the Dream Mall, and Nickelodeon also has, or Paramount also has a major stake in King's Dominion. It's just King's Dominion is basically like a kind of lesser Six Flags, but I like King's Dominion. Let's see what else. It also says that Paramount making the first move here puts all other companies in a weaker position chess-wise. Trump also technically has a vendetta against Universal and Comcast, so Trump would probably not allow a merger between Comcast and WB unless they suckered up to Trump and did a bunch of like shitty things, which it's hard to say if they would or wouldn't. Again, a lot of people are imagining Disney wants to buy them, but officially Disney doesn't actually want to buy them. So all the speculations on Disney doing this are kind of crap to me. In the meantime, WB is just proceeding to restructure and cut off limbs. And the spin-off plan for Zaslav to push out the cable networks is to make up for money lost in dequisition. Merging Paramount Plus and HBO Max together will boost their both failing numbers. There's a big argument here then about like what will happen to James Gunn's branch of DC. Some companies want to keep it intact. Other companies want to fire James Gunn and do their own reboot of DC. I think that would be another like headache for the audience. But then there's an argument that Gunn's DC hasn't done as well financially as like Man of Steel back in the day. So that's another thing. This guy is excited that if Paramount absorbs WB, then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would be folded into the DC universe, which would be crazy. That would actually be crazy. I don't kind of want the TMNT to be in the DC universe, but the idea of it happening for a while would at least be interesting, I guess. This one's saying Paramount would be good because they would probably be WB. They would probably keep WB Games intact. I think overall Paramount's game industry is pretty weak. Let's see what else we got here. This is saying that if Paramount and HBO use Garfield might become a DC comic book. I don't know if that's true or not. A lot of people are positioning that Universal wants it the most because of the Harry Potter position and the fact they have to pay a tax on the Harry Potter IP makes them most interested more than Paramount because they're going to keep having to pay that bill. And technically, a future merger could jeopardize their Harry Potter park. They also seem to want more IP to put into Epic Universe, which is kind of floundering as a new theme park in the already crowded Florida space. I kind of have my doubts that Epic Universe should have been made in the first place. I kind of think they should have just like made Super Mario Land part of the existing Universal parks, and then they probably should have made Epic Universe in another state. Hunter Iggy is on the scene. Hunter Iggy says that comic book news is spreading lies about James Gunn and doing a hit piece on him. Yeah, they usually do that. I'm not sure if the fact that the merger could shut James Gunn down is part of those lies. I'm accepting that as fact just because if there's a new boss in town, the new boss would be able to fire James Gunn. I've also heard through a few scenarios where James Gunn's DC just spins off as its own thing or gets sold as its own thing before WB itself even gets sold outright, which would be weird, but could technically happen. I'm not sure what would happen if James Gunn's DC was split off. First things first, he's still making movies. Supergirl's still coming. Clayface is still coming. So, like, I can't see James Gunn being fired outright. And even if he was fired outright, I feel like it wouldn't shut down the existing pipeline of movies in progress. Now people are just arguing about theme parks and superhero movies. Here's a newspaper article about Paramount's Skydance boss, David Ellison, has raised his bid to $24 a share as of today. This is breaking news. So that raises the mega deal to $57 billion. This does show that Paramount is being aggressive in terms of trying to acquire it. But yeah, it seems like WB turned down the offer at $20 a share, and it seems like they're not impressed at $24 a share either. The bid being raised to $24 a share is breaking news. So I guess he's going to make a fourth bid. That will be even more money. But yeah, that's a lot of money that is all going to go to directly Zaslav, and Zaslav's going to retire on this. So fuck that guy. Yeah, I guess that's all the latest news about this. All right, turning it to you guys. I guess you guys are just Iggy and Random. Hey, how's it going, guys? So any reaction to this? Otherwise, I'm cutting the stream and going to sleep, or maybe I'll do Super Robot Wars. Why? Oh, Random has a response. Random says, I think all this merging is going to be moot in the long run. I am planning to make a video on the future of Hollywood. And Hunter Iggy says, if the tree projects are a hit, I think James Gunn is safe. Why would other studios reboot DCU again, where you could just finish Zack Snyderverse with the two movies? Honestly, man, it's stupid. I mean, a lot of this is just like fan casting of what they think people want or what actual people want based on the way things are. All right, responding to Random. All the mergers are bad. All the mergers are kind of just a reaction to the current state of the Trump administration allowing people to merge like crazy. If the mergers keep happening unabated, worst comes to worst, we're going to end up in a situation like the way South Korea runs, where like Samsung and IG like basically run everything. Honestly, the way our country is running right now, it's not too different, but there's a majority of companies. Whereas in South Korea, everything just merged down to Samsung and IG, and two companies run everything. At Iggy, James Gunn's record is mostly good. It's not perfect. I think a lot of people are giving him shit about WB and Superman not doing as well as Man of Steel. And then last episode of Peacemaker wasn't great either. And the fact there's no Peacemaker season 3 is a weird, like, throwdown. I do like the way James Gunn is running DC Studios. I've gotten like no like qualms against it. I think it's just a fact that if WB gets sold, the new owners could fire James Gunn. That's on the table. Technically, Zack Snyder works at Netflix. I don't think if Netflix bought WB, they'd immediately rush his Justice League into production. At Iggy, if the Saudis buy WB, that's interesting. I personally think the Saudis running WB would actually probably be good. I think the Saudis running WB wouldn't be a worst case scenario. I just think Trump wouldn't allow the Saudis to acquire them. But the Saudis do love WB. I hear there's like a whole like WB theme park in Saudi Arabia that's supposed to be really nice. Yeah, I will say that in the past year, WB has done a lot of indie projects to keep people occupied, and those indie projects have been going pretty well. Sinners also performed really well. Like, if we're being real, WB actually had a half decent year this year, and their biggest performing projects were all like new independent media. A lot of the sequels they did went bad, but I think that's really more like a reflection of just people being sick of sequels and sequels themselves just not really working anymore. Any other questions, or I'm like wrapping this up? But yeah, keep the questions coming because this is actually keeping me alive. So my cat is trying really hard to break in the room, and I do not want my cat gang in the room. Iggy loves the idea of Paramount and WB together. Nah, man, Paramount and WB together is bad. Like, first things first, Paramount's just been absorbed by Skydance, and we haven't really seen the negative effects of that. But I feel like in the long run, Skydance has the potential to make Paramount way more religious than it used to be. And if that happens, they're not going to be performing as well as they used to. On top of that, Paramount and WB basically cancel each other out. They basically eat each other. Like, you wouldn't have Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. You'd just have a Nickelodeon with like half as many shows because it would absorb the Cartoon Network shows. Like, I think Paramount and WB absorbing is really, really bad for like kind of everyone. Like, I do not see a good scenario coming out of Paramount buying WB. Like, all I see is Paramount giving up on their own shit, using WB's shit, and potentially censoring WB's shit. Like, I'm actually worried more about Paramount censoring WB than I'm worried about Saudi Arabia, and that's kind of insane. But that's seriously how it is. I literally think that because Paramount is like in bed with Trump and in bed with like various like religious entities, I think they could really shut down WB. Whereas if the Saudis bought WB, the only thing I could like see them doing is just disallowing WB to like criticize Saudi Arabia, which I think is overall worse for free speech than Paramount getting it and just killing half of it instantly. Random says a bigger issue is that cinema as a whole being devalued. I agree with that. I try to go to the movie theater at least every week if I can. Gaming, YouTube are more grabbing folks' attention at this point. Iggy says, what if your thoughts about calling James Gunn woke and Zack Snyder doing the same thing and they praising that? I mean, back to like both versions of Superman that have come out. Neither had a good take on Superman. Like, Snyder's was too religious and violent, and James Gunn's is maybe a little too woke and maybe a little too, I want to say it's too reverential to the 70s Superman, which is always like a bad take. Yo, Origia, thanks for coming in. I'm doing a live react to the fact that WB has decided to sell itself, and a lot of people have been wanting me to make videos on that. And I've honestly got like no motivation to do that anymore. But by live reacting to it, people can just ask me questions and I can like give my honest answers. So back at Origia's question, Origia asks if Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network use Nick shows and vice versa. I am not mistaken. No, right now they're completely separate. There was a time in the past where Nickelodeon licensed the Looney Tunes, but that licensing deal ended in like 1994. Iggy asks again if I could imagine WB and Disney together. No, I cannot. Everything I know, everything I have information on, states that Disney wants nothing to do with the Warner Brothers buyout. Disney views Warner Brothers as a competitor, but they also view it as like not necessary. The information I have is that even though Disney's IP is being milked dry right now, they're doing okay with sequels. Like Inside Out 2 worked okay. Back to Iggy again. Yeah, I can't imagine WB and Disney fusing. All my data shows that Disney doesn't want it and Disney doesn't need it. So I'm pretty sure just Disney is completely hands off in this question. Blah. Working backwards again. So in terms of the differences between the way DC worked before and the way DC worked currently, so Zack Snyder was running DC, then his daughter committed suicide and he left. Walter Hamada ran DC for a couple of years and he basically ran it with blind leadership, just building off of what Snyder had started without resetting. Now Gunn is doing it. I think Gunn's doing okay. Yeah, his Superman take was really woke, and I loved Peacemaker 2. Peacemaker 2 was fucking cool. And then he successfully predicted that there would be Nazis in the U.S. government. I think that was like kind of an already known fact, but the fact he called it out was pretty fun. I am looking forward to the next couple of DC movies. I think Clayface has the potential to be good. I think Supergirl might be okay. Superman 2, I guess, is also coming. I didn't love Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos was a little bit episodic, and I don't really see how it plugs into the larger narrative that's going on. I also think they're making an Amanda Waller show. I don't think that's probably going to be any good. I think Viola Davis is okay as Amanda Waller, but I'm kind of sick of the fact that like the last 10 projects in the DCU have all just been like, oh no, Amanda Waller did this, and then everyone reacted to it, and I'm kind of sick of that. I don't mind Amanda Waller's role in the DCU, but I am sick that almost every movie of like the past 10 years has somehow been a reaction to her like doing some fucked up shit against the Justice League or doing some fucked up shit with the Suicide Squad, and then like somehow they're just spinning that on for like years. I think I'm kind of sick of that. I'd rather see like something else be the driving force in the DC universe. It should honestly be Superman or Batman, not Amanda Waller. That's just my take on things. Okay, any other questions before I'm burned out and leaving? Because I am burned out and leaving. Well, I'm out of things to say. Stream's over. I updated you guys for half an hour.